Good afternoon. If you can, we'll go ahead and get seated and get started. My name is Kevin Ragland. I am the Associate Director of the Tennessee STEM Education Center at Middle Tennessee State University, and also the Director of the Middle Tennessee STEM Innovation Hub. Really appreciate you being with us, and really just kind of want to talk through what the Hub and its activities, and also make this kind of interactive. If you have questions, if you have dialogue, if you have ideas, would really love to discuss those with you. But I'll start by just giving a little bit of background on what the Hub is. I know there are some of you who are very familiar with the Hub and you've been longtime participants, and I'm sure there are some of you that are fairly new to the Hubs and maybe aren't exactly familiar with what they are, and also what type of services that the Hub can provide as well. So, as I mentioned, I'm the Associate Director at Tennessee STEM Education Center, also Director of the Middle Tennessee STEM Innovation Hub. So, Battelle provides STEM education grants, and those STEM education grants go to TSIN, the Tennessee STEM Innovation Network, and they are then distributed to 7 hubs throughout the state that represent all of the counties in terms of oversight and programming. So we are one of those hubs at MTSU. We are the Middle Tennessee STEM Innovation Hub. So it's a little confusing probably from some aspects, because Tennessee STEM Education Center has outreach as well. So a few of the things that I'll be sharing with you today are really our STEM Innovation Centers, or Education Center activities, and then some of it are directly attributed to the grant and the Hub itself. So I'll kind of try to delineate what those are. So our overarching goal with the hubs are to improve STEM education in Middle Tennessee. So we have about a 22 county area of Middle Tennessee. We're the largest, I think, geographical region, and largest region by number of counties. So we're a fairly big overall region. The goal is to create effective outreach programming as well as professional development for teachers to be able to advance, K through 12 STEM education across the state. And really want to try to also bring together the community and business partners throughout the state as well. And really anything that would relate to programming for STEM education really falls kind of with our purview at MTSU and with the Middle Tennessee Innovation Hub. So what are our primary activities? We have 2 STEM Hub meetings or leader meetings, and we have 2 of those, 2 per year. In fact, one of those is next week. On Tuesday next week from 10 to 1, we have a Hub meeting at MTSU. If you have not registered for that and would like to register for that, I would just encourage you to reach out to me via email. We send emails out to the email list that we have. It's possible you might not be on that email list and may not have received that information. But if you would like to, if you'll send me the email, I'll send you the agenda. You can determine if it's something you're interested in. And that's from 10 to 1. I'll give you a little more detail about that in just a second. We have innovative educator workshops. We have 3 of those this summer. We'll talk about those in a moment. Those are more professional development. And then historically, we have also had a STEM Expo for student research that's been hosted at MTSU as well. That has been canceled the last couple of years, primarily due to COVID, but we are looking at having that again next year, and kind of wanted to have some dialogue as well about what might be the best way to be able to augment and facilitate. We know that a lot of you already have STEM Expos, so we want to understand what's the best way to fit it in. We don't want it to necessarily be just another place for students, but we want to kind of talk about what might make sense in terms of providing a STEM Expo. And then the 4th area from the Hub that we have is a lending library. All the Hubs have had funding from Battelle historically to fund a lending library, which has all kinds of different STEM resources available. And I will give you some links in a moment where you can kind of check some of that out a little bit further. So what do we do at the Hub meetings? Well, the Hub meetings typically are about 3 hours. We have typically an educational component to it. And as well, really the goal is really to kind of facilitate discussion of best practices, learn about what other people are doing across the Hub and the region, and be able to share that information so we can kind of co-promote each other's activities and learn from each other. So, sharing ideas, building community, developing kind of an overall network of STEM individuals so that we can kind of learn from each other. So I mentioned a moment ago, we have a STEM Hub leader meeting next week, and that was on the 17th from 10 to 1. And we have a guest speaker at this one, Rachel Singer. Rachel was actually a student of mine many years ago, but she's now the assistant. You start to feel kind of old when people have kids that are coming back to college and things like that. But she is an assistant director of Murfreesboro Parks and Recreation, and she's really been an innovator in utilizing kind of the exterior, the community, to be able to teach in partnership with our city schools. So she has developed a wildlife ambassador program with native wildlife, as well as Outdoor Murfreesboro, which has an environmental education, outdoor adventure, and natural resource divisions. And so really her discussion isn't so much just about Murfreesboro, but it's about how to leverage community resources to be able to assist with education. And in addition to this, then we'll have a sharing session. And so I'm new to MTSU. I said I was there many years ago teaching, but I've come back in a new role with the Tennessee STEM Education Center. And in doing so, I'm new to the hub as well, and so I really would like to kind of discuss what kind of programming do you need? Like, what are the things that would really resonate with you? Where are the gaps? And we've looked at some of our programming, and we know that there are a couple of areas where already that we probably would like to focus on, but I would really love to have some time to have some feedback from you today as well, and as well in the hub meeting next week for those of you that are able to attend. Then I mentioned innovative educator workshops. We have 3 of those scheduled for this summer, and these are professional development workshops for K through 12 teachers. The workshops, some of them end up being more middle school or high school focused. Some can be at times elementary focused. I would say that this year, the POGL workshop can be anywhere from probably middle to high school, and biotechnology as well. The STEM and STEAM designation certainly can hit any category from elementary, K through 12. So the 3 workshops we have on June 14th, process-oriented guided inquiry learning, it's called POGL, some of you may be familiar with that, will be at MTSU. These are from 9 to 4 typically. They're about 6 hours worth of content with a break for lunch. And Dr. Amy Phelps, who's a chemistry professor at MTSU, will be leading that. She's a certified POGL instructor. I will say, though, just because she's in chemistry doesn't mean that this is directed towards chemistry or that it is chemistry only. It's really for any STEM field. June 16th, incorporating biotechnology in the classroom, will be held at Oakland High School. Melissa Bunch will be leading that particular workshop. And then on June 23rd, the Journey of STEM or STEAM designation will be at MTSU, and Leah Barch, who I know is here, will be leading that as well. So if you would like to register for these, you can scan this QR code. We'll be sending information out as well. You can also go to our website, mid10stem.org, and you'll have the ability to be able to register there. So when you register online, you have a choice of a stipend or PD or professional development credit. It's an or, not an and. So you get to choose. You can also choose for, if you go to 3 different workshops, if you went to all 3 of them, you can choose, professional development for one and stipend for others. So you can choose on those as well. And then I mentioned the STEM Expo, just for a historical basis of what that has been, pre-COVID anyway. You typically had about 800 Middle Tennessee students coming to campus from grades 5 through 12, from 5th through 12th grade, presenting STEM research. So very similar to the Expo projects that a lot of you may have in your own school systems or in your own counties or in your own districts. We had a similar system. And of course, the goal here was to help the students learn academic content, and at the same time, we want to help to facilitate them developing some of those what we consider more soft skills, like communication, collaboration, and then also critical thinking. And then the Hub Lending Library is kind of that 4th big facet of what we cover in the Hub. Battelle and TSIN supported a lending library for each hub, as I mentioned earlier. They gave funds for us. We purchased items. And then those resources are available for you to check out for up to 2 weeks at a time. So we have, bots, some drones, and a number of different resources. You can go to our website at, again, mid10stem.org, and there's a list of those and pictures of many of those that are on there. So you can take a look at those and see if there are resources that you would like to be able to use to facilitate STEM learning in your classroom. And then So I told you there were some things that were hub related, and there are also some programming that's non-hub related. I want to share those with you also. The next 3 or so slides are related to programming that is non-hub related. These are just activities on the MTSU campus that I thought you might find useful. There is a website. It's called STEMsational Ag. It was funded by a USDA National Institute of Food and Agricultural Survey. Our College of Health and Human Services and our School of Agriculture together developed this. It's kind of like a virtual farm tour, and also some kind of like backyard practices as well. That is available at mtsu.edu and STEMsational Ag. And then for high school students, for rising 10th and 11th grade students, our College of Basic and Applied Sciences this summer has a summer STEM camp at MTSU, and it's July 11th through the 15th. It is a day camp. It's not an overnight camp, so certainly regionally that is probably more favorable to certain counties that are close. But it's available from, again, if you've got students that drive in that age, potentially could be, that might be an option as well. And there is a QR code there as well. If I can go back. There we go. There is a QR code there as well. If you want more information on that, you're welcome to scan that. I think it's went rogue now. All right. And then Tennessee Girls in STEM Conference. We just had that at MTSU, but I'll toss it out there for those of you who might be new to STEM teaching. That is for grades 5 through 12 at MTSU each spring typically. It was April 9th, but I toss it out there. You can find out more about that. It's a one-day kind of weekend type conference for girls just to really learn more about hands-on workshops and learn more about STEM careers through hands-on workshops and through guest speakers as well. And then just kind of another potential opportunity for you for professional development and to learn more about kind of STEM ed and STEM research. We host a STEM Education Research Conference at MTSU each year. It's an annual conference. I think this is the 16th or 17th year that we've had that conference. And we alternate it also with Tennessee Tech, with other colleges. It's at Tennessee Tech this year. That'll be held in January. It's usually around about the 10th to 12th or so of January. We're still finalizing dates on this year's conference. This is a research conference. It really started out as a Tennessee conference with Tennessee colleges and universities and high schools, or not high schools, but K through 12 schools and teachers participating, and really to learn more about STEM education, just in general. It's developed into kind of a regional, southeastern regional conference, and so we have, I think, 50 plus universities, colleges and universities that attended this past year. So as such, it's an opportunity for you if you want to learn more about K through 12 STEM education research. There's quite a bit of research that's presented there on that particular topic. And so you can check out our website for more information on that and when the date actually gets finalized. And we certainly will send the information out through an email list that we have that's associated with the hub. I would tell you that if you're not currently getting that information, if you're not on that email list, I would really ask for you to email me, let me know. I'd be happy to add your email list to our list so that we can make sure that you had the information on hub meetings, the research conference, innovative educator workshops, professional development, all of those kinds of things. We also do send some emails out kind of throughout the year, just gauging interest, trying to figure out, where are the things that you have interest in, what type of programming do you need, where are the gaps in STEM outreach across the Middle Tennessee region. And so what I would love to do now is just kind of turn it over for some dialogue and discussion in terms of asking you some questions about what kind of professional development would you like to see in the future? What kind of STEM programming would you like to see? Where do you think the gaps are currently in some of the outreach activities that we have across the state? Any thoughts?
STEM Expo has always been a huge thing, and I know the past 2 years I've done even before the turnaround to get presentations ready.
Yeah.
Has been an issue.
Okay. Can you say more?
Turnaround from when you get notified,
When you get notified to when you have to actually have it done, yeah. I think that's an opportunity we have probably in a lot of our programming is to get it out there a little bit earlier, and that's something I would like to be a little bit more proactive about doing. So that's well noted, and we'll try to give more of that timing in the future. I think one of the questions that we've had is, do we want to keep that exact same format where it's another venue for students to present, or would it be better served if it was more of a regional event, kind of a culminating event? Any thoughts on that? Yes, sir.
I know we've emailed before.
Yes.
But, yeah, we've considered that just doing a district one and then bringing the winner there.
Yeah.
Also, something that's changed over the past several years is charging for the students to come there.
Okay.
Trying to bus students from like Westmoreland, Tennessee.
Right.
To where you are and to get there on time has been an issue.
Yeah. Yeah, I can understand that. I'm originally from Lafayette, so I understand that area very well. So yeah, there's a decent distance there. And that's, I think, one of the challenges of our region a little bit, just geographically. We go all the way over from what I would call almost West Tennessee to just past Murfreesboro. So it is a big region, so it probably is a little harder to traverse than some of the other hubs. So is it the timing of the Expo that you would suggest is part of the issue, or?
Well, we've done something where we moved it around from different locations in the past, but that's been in MTSU for about, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 years now.
Okay, I didn't have that history, actually. I was unaware that it had been moved around.
Yeah, it was at Vol State in Gallatin one year. So.
Okay, all right, that's something we can look into. And I will say that, with the Innovative Educator workshops as well as the hub meetings, it is our intent going forward to move those around as well to make it easier for you to be able to participate. So what we'd love, to do is maybe have one in Clarksville or Gallatin or Williamson County or, southern Middle Tennessee somewhere, so that we can move those around and make them a little bit easier for you to at least attend some of the time. And one of the other, I think, discussion points I'd love to kind of bring up is we've looked at format also. We attended a couple weeks back at ETSU. We attended their hub meeting. ETSU has a hub there just like this, and they had an all-day event. We typically have had, at least in recent history, they've been about 3 or so hours. They've been shorter in duration, but they had an all-day event, and they had a number of speakers throughout the day. I think where my question is, for teachers, would that be value added to you? Is it something that you could be able to go to, attend, or is it a conflict, obviously, because you have school during the day as well? So, for instance, the ETSU was on I want to say a Wednesday and Thursday, middle of the week. So, just some things, kind of food for thought, some things to maybe toss out there to consider. Love to have some feedback if you have any thoughts on it.
We have a gentleman online, Correll Reed Oglesby, and he wants to know, is there any thought in having virtual or hybrid options for the hub meetings?
So in the last 2 years, that we've had all virtual, unfortunately, or fortunately, I guess it depends on how you look at it. We have had some discussion about that. I think that's something we could look at. Probably not for this one this week, but it's probably something that we can explore for the future. Would there be interest in individuals for a virtual option? Yes? Okay. That's helpful. It's very helpful. What are your thoughts then on the Innovative Educator workshops? I mean, obviously the last couple of years we've been virtual. We're trying to go back to in-person this year. We feel like there's a lot that's missed out on in a virtual setting, but again, understanding the region and the distance, that can be somewhat problematic. Do you like workshops that are virtual? Especially something that long? Yeah, I wouldn't think so either, but there may be individuals who have a specific need. So I'd love to get, if there is a desire or a need for that, I'd love to understand more about that. Okay. Anything from an outreach standpoint, any type of programming that you think that we're kind of missing out at on a state level, or that you've maybe heard about other states or regions doing that you think that we might be able to utilize here? Yes? I think she's going to get you the mic.
I'm not used to hearing myself that loud. You know, to reach out to the districts when they're doing their professional development at the beginning of the year and possibly have sessions at those district meetings would be great.
Okay. Any other comments or thoughts or ideas? Are there, and it also ask you to share as well. If you have programs that you're trying or that you've recently tried and that you feel like, man, these are working really well, love to hear about those at this point. If there are things that you think that you're doing that's kind of best practices in STEM and you think that others could learn from it or benefit from it, would love to hear more about that as well. What about content areas on professional development and also in outreach? You know, certainly I think there are some fields that have been more heavily focused on at times. Are there areas or gaps there that you think, hey, we've really not had enough of blank? One of the feedbacks, a little bit of feedback we got earlier this year was we needed more biology, biotech, that type of stuff. So we've offered some programming in that area. But if there are other areas, we'd like to hear more about that. Yes.
We had a specific question about community partners. Is there anything where there's like a list of people that we, as like a Middle Tennessee group, have found that are willing to come and speak to our students? Because I know a lot of the time we're eager and we're looking, but it's not so much that we're not looking, it's that we're not getting feedback. And I know it's hard with COVID, it's been difficult for virtual, but now that we're allowing people back in our schools and things like that, people that would be willing to come and speak to our kids.
I'm personally not aware of a comprehensive list, but I'll toss that out to the group. Some of you have been doing this, you know, quite some time, and you may have some great resources that you could share with others in the group. I'm not aware of anything that's a comprehensive list, but that can be kind of a follow-up where we start to maybe develop some of those types of resources. I'll tell you as an educator, you know, I taught community college, biology and anatomy and physiology for about a decade. And one of the things, you know, I constantly found that, yeah, there are resources out there, but they're not very centralized. And so I could spend half a day sometimes Googling, looking for resources, and might come back with one good one, but I'd spent 4 or 5 hours. So one of the things I would like to do is maybe start to try to create some collections. And I know some of this already exists, but I think that we could potentially create some collections out of the hub as well that prevents some of that, you know, wasted time of just randomly looking for stuff. Would that be useful? Okay.
Have you considered partnering with the Tennessee Academy of Sciences? Because I know that they're also trying to work on developing a speaker list as well.
I have not, but I will follow up on that for sure. I was unaware that they were, but certainly something we can partner with them on.
Tessa Online would like to know, how do they get your contact information?
Well, my contact information was up there. See if they can put that back up there. Great. There we go. Here's contact information. Well, let me go to the end slide. It's got my email address. So our hub website is mid10stem.org. My email address is just first name dot last name, kevin.ragland@mtsu.edu. And that's my personal phone number as well, 904-8405. So you're certainly welcome to call us, email us. You can go to our website as well. There's an email address there that you can also email to. It comes into me also. But any of those methods. Yes.
I was just going to suggest too that I think developing a list of resources is great. It sounds like though a lot of feedback is accessibility, and sometimes being closer is just as important. And so maybe part of those resources could be outside of just MTSU. What are other right colleges, universities, other areas offering for professional development, camps, things like that could serve the whole Middle Tennessee area.
Certainly. Yeah, I think that's an opportunity that, again, I've been in this role about 8 weeks. But that's just an observation, that I've had, that I think we can probably do a better job partnering with all of the different STEM hubs across the state and starting to build some of that information out and starting to create, more of a true network of that information. And TSIN's done a fantastic job, putting a lot of that information together and what's available at their website. And I know other hubs have done some of that as well. I think there's probably just some opportunity to get it more collectively. Yes.
Yes, you talk about a library of resources. One of the things we've discussed in a STEM meeting in the past is getting a library of project-based learning things that are standards-based for all grade levels. People have them all across the area.
Right.
And we just need to be transparent and share what we have.
Right.
We're willing to share what we have.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's what we need to investigate, maybe how to share some of this information efficiently and then get it organized effectively so that it's something you can use, really quickly.
This kind of goes along, it's similar to the community partners, but I know that if there was some work that could be done as far as linking careers to Tennessee state standards, that a list like that as well with the community partners, because I know there's a lot of times that we're just like searching for what careers, like, hey, we're doing magnets, but I have no idea what careers use magnets, or there's some that were really cool that I didn't realize use magnets. Does that make sense? Is my question making sense?
I think it does make sense.
Because I want to, we definitely want to expose our kids to more careers than what what we have knowledge on. And so if that was something else that, even within the network, if we could start like a little drive and drop in careers that we know that we've researched or talked about, I think that would be very beneficial.
Yeah, I think that would probably end up having to be a little bit of a crowdsourced information, like a group-sourced information. I'll tell you that I've been in industry the last 7 years prior to coming back to MTSU, and I was actually working in a career that I didn't know that existed before that I was, found out about the job. So I think that's the tough thing, is that there are those things that are obvious that we all know about, but there are so many different careers that, I think a lot of us probably are not even familiar with. Okay. Any other questions? Well, if not, thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it. I really do want to be a great partner from the hub with your school systems and make sure that we're providing programming that is really good for you, it's good for your schools, it's good for your students, and it's good for your professional development as well. So if you have additional thoughts, if you have feedback, feel free to give me a call, feel free to email me, or just talk to me. Let me know. We're happy to try to provide the programming that's really going to be useful for us to be able to advance STEM education in Middle Tennessee. Thank you.